and welcome to the podcast 17 top 11 portion for Jonesin on a Whim podcast. This week, for this podcast, we're going to give our NFL season and playoff predictions, division winners, wild cards, and then playoff results. And that's how we'll lay out our top 11. We have each round as a question, and then we have some MVP picks, offensive player of the year picks, defensive player of the year, rookie of the year picks, comeback player, all that stuff. And then for our final three, we'll do a season bowl prediction. Then we have some fantasy bowl predictions. And then I have a bold prediction of my own for Stefan. So.
Bold prediction?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes, very bold.
Okay. Making sure it wasn't a bowl.
No, this is NFL, not college.
All right, let's just make sure.
All right. So we'll start. We kind of went through this in the first 8 podcasts that we used this as the format for top 11. But we'll rehash it and then pick our wild cards. And we'll start in the NFC. My 2 wild cards in the NFC, 5th and 6th. And then in the conference are Chicago at 5. They're not quite better than Green Bay yet, and their offensive line is still below average, in my opinion. And I have Detroit over Atlanta in the 6th spot because I think head-to-head they'll beat Atlanta.
Yep.
So, Stefan?
I got Chicago as the first wild card as well, but I got Atlanta over Detroit.
So you have Atlanta beating Detroit?
Yes,
essentially. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I got 3 going out of the NFC North based on the schedule, based on the way that should go. And again, I've glued myself in the face calling Atlanta Fool's Gold, so I can't show them to pick them. I can't pick them to go all the way now.
You still had them with 10 wins, though. So.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I'm moonwalking a little bit.
That's right. I did some research.
I might have to give them 9. I may have to go ahead and go with my harsh, evil, worst case scenario for them, which actually could be 8-8. So split the difference to go 9-7.
And my
and somebody got to get fired over that too.
Well, I'd rather him stay around.
So I'm guessing you're not picking Minnesota as one of those 2 wild cards.
No.
So we all have Chicago.
Yep.
2 of us have Detroit. You have Atlanta over Detroit.
Atlanta.
Then my lowest ranked division winner in 4th, it's Philly. They do have the talent to win it all, but injuries always bite this team in the ass, and namely one to Vic. So.
And they're not even ass injuries.
Right, and I think McCoy stayed fairly healthy. That's got to stop at some point at that position.
He's been limping around in preseason.
Yeah. So and then he's due. So I still think they can win the division just because Dallas and the Giants are more injury bitten somehow. So I've got them with 9 and 7, but the 4th seed.
So do I.
I have them as they're the 4th seed, and then I have San Francisco still winning the division, being the 3rd.
Yeah, and I have that as well. But if Pete Carroll wasn't the coach in Seattle, I'd have Seattle there, and I'm still not convinced they won't get there. San Francisco should still. They're likely to still get to 10 wins, but they had no injuries last year, and that performance from Alex Smith was unworldly for him. I just don't think those both will repeat. I do really want to put Seattle there, but I'll hold my original and keep San Francisco as the 3rd seed. 10 wins, probably.
I got them 3rd as well, and about 10 wins.
Okay, and then so 2nd, I think we all have Green Bay.
I got Green Bay number 1.
You have them 1st, good.
Yep.
Okay, they still have defensive issues, and that the rest of the division is catching up to them, but they're still the best in that division. 12 wins, 11 wins. I think I had them at 11.
You had them at 12.
Okay.
I have them at 13.
Okay.
Yeah, I put them back around 11. Looking at their schedule, I think their schedule is really going to be tougher than people got it out to be.
Yeah.
They play some teams that have the right mix of things that you need to make things hard.
And anyone in a division, conceivably, can beat them, and likely will. Even Minnesota, I think, even though they're not
it
good.
just depends on when they play them and when Minnesota completely comes out.
Are we into the bold predictions already?
No, right.
I think we're already in the bold predictions.
Yeah, I have Green Bay 1 and 2.
They got them at home the final week of the year.
Nice.
So Green Bay, Minnesota. Green Bay's at Minnesota.
See, I just don't know. my thought is that Minnesota's going to have a good month somewhere in here, and I don't think it's going to be.
I like Christian Ponder more than most, so that's kind of where I stand. I still think they're vying for the top pick, but
yeah, I'm interested in their health situation.
Right.
I don't think they're going to get the top pick. I think there's going to be a couple teams that are going to really be horrible.
No, I agree.
That people don't think are going to be that horrible, but they are.
So we all have. You obviously have Green Bay 1.
Yep.
The Saints
too.
in the second,
Yep.
and Art and I both I think have the Saints in first. The top seed, 13 wins. I just think they're going to take an us against the world approach.
You said 13, but I think if they got 12, I think that's still
in the schedule.
Still be up.
12 will probably do it this year.
Yeah,
seed.
I agree.
1 seed.
Right. Yeah, because I do think Green Bay is going to take a step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Chicago's a better team. Obviously, we have them in the playoffs this year.
I guess I got Green Bay with 13, so I'm saying that 12 won't do it. But yeah.
Right, but no, you're right. It may very well may be 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Get you the top seed.
Yeah.
So that's our NFC rankings. I guess
playoffs.
We all have 5 of the same teams. The only difference being that 6th seed for Stephon.
Yep.
With Atlanta getting in over Detroit.
Hey, city of my birth, so I'm
there. You go. All right. We always forget that.
Right.
But
since I have such a Georgian attitude.
Right, I thought it was Canada, so last time we talked about it.
Don't say that when I'm drinking.
Right, no, right.
Spew all over all of it.
But
computers.
We are now on to the AFC. This will shape up probably to be more different predictions from all of us. My 2 wild cards. Actually, these might be the same for a couple of us. I have Buffalo. They're a surprise no more, but they will have to prove it in the regular season. But I do think they will. I think they'll get to 10 wins. That defense can stay healthy. Fred Jackson can stay healthy. Those are big ifs, but I'll put them as the 5th seed. And then Cincinnati's my other wild card. I said the Steelers would make the playoffs, so I have to stick to that. I do like Kansas City, but not quite enough. And I'll be rooting for Cincy all year anyway. For Foley and Art's Closet Love, so I might as well put him in the playoffs. I'll be rooting for it.
Could you put us in different closets?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not sharing a closet.
7 minutes of heaven.
So my 2 are Buffalo and Cincinnati getting in over Pittsburgh out of the North.
I got Cincy as my number 1 wild card, and Oakland as my number 2.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't remember you having them winning that much. But.
Maybe not, but kind of hard to find. I don't think Buffalo's going to be quite as good as y'all are thinking.
So I think they were kind of the Chicago of the AFC last year.
Yeah, I mean they might sneak in at something like 8-8, because the Jets look more and more like a train wreck every week.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have Cincy
and Oakland.
And Oakland. All right.
Yeah, in my case, I have I sipped some Kool-Aid over these last couple of weeks, and I started looking back at the old information, and I don't know why I thought the Titans were like 6-10 last year, but they were 9-7.
Yes, they were, and lost to Indy away from making the playoffs.
And I'm like, and then I started thinking about that because I remember being blown away because the game they had to win. Screw the pooch and not win that game, and then they guaranteed that the Texans would get in the playoffs. And of course, we got a lot of people on TV now saying the Texans are going to the Super Bowl, but they had a lot of injuries last year. But I will get into that some other time.
Were they drunk?
We're talking.
Bill Parcells is dead set.
Like people
He's
going to the
old
hoop
all
with
of a
this.
sudden.
Yeah, people out of their mind. So
Mike Greenberg, but that's
whatever. But look, at Tennessee, they have some things that they did get fixed. I think where I land at on Chris Johnson at the end of the day is that he's going to end up being somewhere around what they need. They're going to create enough holes for him. He just has
Fred
to
only
run
got
through.
1 game, so if he could stay healthy and not the strip flow or whatever.
And I think they'll be fine. I think they're ready to play without him anyway. And so if he plays 5 or 6 games, that's just...
So that means you believe in Locker to some degree.
I think there's enough smart people in Tennessee. If they're rolling with him, it's not just because they're like, the hell with it, let's stick him out there. They must think he's the better quarterback.
Right.
So,
well, he's the future. I mean, they know what they can get out of Hasselbeck. His ceiling is realized.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, you could do that when you think you're staring in the face of a 4-12 season.
Right.
But they're coming off a 9-7 season.
They are, and I like
looking, and
this conference is right for the picking.
Right.
You show up at the right time, draw the right team. You mess around and catch New England on the wrong weekend or something like that.
And he gives you the mobility option too. Where Hasselbeck offers 0 mobility option.
So you're basically hoping you're hoping to catch New England on the right weekend or catch them after Baltimore called them or something like that, and that's pretty much what's separating you from a Super Bowl berth in this conference.
Right.
You can get in.
So you've got Tennessee 5th or 6th.
I got Tennessee 6th.
Okay, and your other is Buffalo.
So I'm staying with the Buffalo thing, even though that their depth scares me still, even though they added some pieces.
Yeah,
because that's what happened to them last year.
It did injuries. So yeah, I think they were the Chicago of the AFC. They started great, injuries, and that was it. It
and
went
that
the other way.
got ugly too, so that doesn't help. But we're putting a lot of faith in Fitzpatrick. So and I'll keep doing that.
What's that?
Did we do yours?
Yeah.
You had Cincy and
Oakland.
Oakland. That's right. That is forgettable.
Has Buffalo made the playoffs since the
'99, the Memphis Miracle.
the Music
the
City
last
Miracle?
time.
Yeah, I was trying to think of.
That's the last time.
Yeah. Was
So
one of your trivia questions?
no, that's too easy.
Trivia rule.
And I would have played it off if my lowest division rank, the 4th seed for me in the AFC is those Tennessee Titans. I said the Texans wouldn't win the division because I have Tennessee winning it, so I'm sticking to it. They're my 4th seed. I like Locker more than most. I guess other than Mike Munchak because he's going with him, but he's been showing that mobility in the preseason. He's got accuracy issues, but Donovan McNabb was a great quarterback for a decade with those same said accuracy issues. So
don't put that in quotes. He had accuracy.
He couldn't throw a short pass. That was his problem.
Right. So I love Locker, and I love what they've done on defense. Keith Millard brought in to work with Cameron Wembley, who I think is going to get at the quarterback. Their secondary is better than people think. Tennessee coming out of the South, 4th seed in the AFC.
All right, I got Houston 4th.
Right.
10 wins.
And that's probably what you have.
Now I have the Broncos getting 10 wins.
Okay.
And I have the Texans
Above
accidentally getting 11 wins.
Okay. And I have Denver as my 3rd seed. This is probably an 11 or 12 win team, but their schedule is brutal. So I'll give them 10, and they'll come out of that AFC West. So you flip flop.
I got Denver 3.
Denver 3.
Also with 10 wins.
Okay.
Just getting the nod, tiebreaker wise.
Right.
Yeah.
And you had
And of course, I got the Texans.
Texans 3.
Yeah.
And Denver 4. Correct.
Yes.
And our top 2 would probably be the same. Maybe fly. I don't know. I have New England 1, Baltimore 2.
So do I.
The schedule's too easy to have New England anywhere else.
Yeah.
And for Baltimore, Flacco, I say it every year, but I think he's finally ready. And the sense of urgency will be greater than ever on that defense because these guys are getting up there in age. This is it.
Yeah, it's still an intimidating defense.
It is. And if Suggs can somehow make it back, even if it's in January,
Yeah.
he's a threat.
I'm back, y'all.
But don't you have to occupy a roster spot or something like
And
that?
he's worth it. He's worth the shot.
They'll do it if they think he's coming back.
All they did was PUP him, right? So that buys you 6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
Okay. And they're so deep. This is one team that can afford a roster spot for him.
Yeah, there are other players on that defense that are better than Ray Lewis.
Right. No, he's the 4th best player in his defense.
Yeah.
He's just the leader of that defense.
Yeah.
So, you agree. Thanks, Chewy. So, that's New England 1, Baltimore 2.
Yep.
Chewy wouldn't lie.
And then, so that caps off our 6 teams we have from each division in the playoffs. That was our number 1 of the top 11. Now, on number 2, the wild card round winners. This will be a little more difficult to do each person possibly, but I had Detroit as the 6 and San Francisco as a 3. So I think the only thing different there would be you have Atlanta playing San Francisco.
Let me see here.
Yes.
And I have San Francisco winning that game, and then the Bears surprising the Eagles at home, or in Philly.
Oh, so you have the Bears as the lowest. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I have Detroit beating San Francisco because they'll do it the same way we should have done it a year ago. They won't give up that touchdown with 11 seconds left.
I don't know. They could.
They certainly could. But I have Detroit over San Francisco on my first wild card, and then I have Philly over Chicago. This is a battle of strength versus weakness. That those Philly can throw 6 defensive ends at you, and their pass rush is just too much for that below average offensive line in Chicago. So I have that that's an upset for me. Where you had as Chicago. No, it's not an upset.
Yeah.
It's an upset in the fact that Chicago will have 10 more wins. They'll have more wins.
Oh, okay.
But I had 9 for Philly, 10 for Chicago. But I think
I had 10 each, but Philly's the division winner.
you were correct. You were correct in saying yours is an upset.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my 2.
Yeah, and then I had similar shenanigans. I had
Update.
Tyron Matthews enrolling in school at LSU.
Oh.
In the hopes, I think, that he can be back of the team. Yeah. So you have, what are your 2? Sorry. NFC wildcards.
I have both home teams losing.
Both. Okay,
both divisional.
So you have Detroit over San Francisco as well.
So I had it the other way around. So wait, maybe I'm doing it wrong. So I had the Bears. I had the 49ers playing the Bears.
You had the Bears in the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have them beating the 49ers.
Okay.
And I have the Lions beating the Eagles.
Okay. That'll work. And then in the AFC, I have Buffalo over Tennessee. That is a rematch of the. So I think the story of the year continues. Story of the year in the AFC continues, probably just one more week. But it goes the other. It's the reverse result than the '99. The Memphis Music City Miracle. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have Cincy over Denver. I'm not sure why. I think. Well, I have 2 reasons. One, Denver won a playoff game last year that they shouldn't have won. They snuck up on Pittsburgh. And 2, people forget Peyton Manning's 9-10 in his career in the playoffs.
yeah.
So he's not money.
And it's not even just the wins and losses. Them stats are kind of hideous.
They're really bad. So I've got somehow Cincy taking another step, winning their first round game.
Yeah. I think Peyton played New England a little too much early in his career.
He did.
It didn't help.
Called out some playoff losses there. But I got Denver over Oakland, and then Cincy beating the Texans in Houston.
Oh.
So
Which will make you very popular. With
Bavarian. The different that's a rematch of last year.
It is. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and see, I have shenanigans too. I have the Titans beating the Broncos, and I have the Texans beating the Bills. So.
okay, so that kind of holds suit. So that's number 2. That was the wild card round in the division. I obviously had Philly and Detroit advancing. So Philly would go to New Orleans, and I've got the Saints winning, simply home sweet dome there. And Detroit going to Green Bay. I remember that game last year, right? And they played a year ago, and Matt Flynn scored a couple more points than Stafford, and it was like 46-44. I see that result the other way around this time. An early exit for a team with no defense and no running game, and Detroit's familiar with Green Bay, and they won't be scared. They probably will have played in Lambeau. They're there in early December, so actually they're there in mid-November. So I've got Detroit over Green Bay, Saints over Philly.
Oh. I got all home teams in this round. I got Green Bay over Chicago, and New Orleans over the Niners.
All right, and I got Saints over Bears because back in the dome, payback from years ago. Write all your stories, make it right.
Right.
I got Lions beating the Packers too.
And then in AFC, what you got?
And then in the AFC,
Yeah.
I have.
I'm winding up.
I know.
I'm sitting in the wrong place. I got Shenanigan Festival. I got Ravens beating the Titans.
Okay, that's fair.
But that's obviously that's not the shenanigans.
No, of course.
I got
lead with that.
I'm leading with that. Now I'm gonna lean this way, and I'm gonna say I got the Texans beating the Patriots.
Wow.
Because
You're entitled to your opinion.
Houston needs the hope. Houston needs the hope spot, and I think that's the hope spot game. And then they'd be lined up to play the Ravens. They'd be like, "Oh, we gotta beat them this time because everybody's healthy." And yeah,
So you've got New England over Denver.
No, I think the way I had the order, New England over Cincy, and then Baltimore over Denver.
Okay. And so for mine, I have New England over Cincy as well. Cincy improves upon last year, like I said, making it this far. So the season's a success, and I don't think they can go into New England and win. I mean, I say that they certainly can, but I don't see it.
But maybe the Texans can.
And then right,
If they get that
apparently, and then Baltimore over Buffalo. Buffalo, same thing with Cincinnati. It's a nice improvement from 1999, to be honest, and it sets up a rematch of that stellar AFC Championship from a season ago. Where at this time I have it different. This is the fourth of the top 11 conference round winners. I've got Baltimore over New England, and this same great game, but slightly different result.
Actually, I have that too. I got Baltimore winning that game, and yeah.
I don't know what to talk about.
I did bet $20 on that happening.
You're right. You've got Houston playing Baltimore in Baltimore.
Yeah, and that's the problem. So Baltimore wins that game.
Okay.
They finally get to the Super Bowl that they've been
Casey
needing to get
bitches that we all agree. We're gonna have the same Super Bowl.
So he's correct.
Right. It's like, we need to throw me in there. Well, I mean, we hang out a lot. We watch this all a lot. We see the same things. It's not a coincidence.
We can invite Mike. I'm sure he'd throw some
Yeah.
picks out that we disagree.
No, that's very true. But you just have the Bears,
right.
like I have the Saints.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then you could justify that this year, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the NFC, this would be a really cool conference championship for me, obviously, with the Saints being in it. But it's two of the cities that hope forgot in this country, and Detroit and New Orleans, and two great fan bases, both of these cities. But if it's in the Dome, I've got to take the Saints. And kind of the same fashion that we beat them last year in the first round of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Calvin Johnson does what he wants, but no one else does anything, and we just dropped 50 on him.
Yeah, Kevin Smith somewhere limping.
Right.
Yeah, if you've been listening to my previous picks, you know that I've now gotten New Orleans going to Green Bay for the NFC Championship.
So that's something I don't know that we can handle.
And I know the Saints are historically not a good cold weather team, and that offense is built more for warmer temps. But
Green Bay's defense is so bad.
It is, and so I see New Orleans going in there and sneaking one out and going to the Super Bowl.
So we both have Saints Ravens.
Saints Ravens, yes.
And we all three have Saints. No. And I'll let Art make his picks.
Yeah, so we all three have Saints Ravens.
Oh man,
we got that different ways. I'm falling for this because I listen to people talk about Atlanta and the super crazy offense.
Super awesome. There you go. That feels like Japanimation. Super awesome. Super awesome.
What about the Ravens?
Right. No, I mean, I agree. Best running back in football.
Yeah. What about Ray Rice?
Yeah.
And if Flacco, now think about it. Flacco did a lot of deep throws last year, and if you saw the list, he's like top 3 as far as deep attempts.
And he didn't lose that AFC Championship
Nope.
at all. If anything, he
Nope.
outplayed Brady in that game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you just say the law of averages works itself out, and a few more of those deep throws fall in hands, and let's sign Bolden up for his 11.5 games where he's healthy.
Right.
Let's sign him up for 2 or 3 games where he's not healthy, and then let's sign him up to just miss 2 or 3 games. But if Torrey Smith,
He's a breakout player.
look, Baltimore, that we compliment this organization all the time. If we got jokes about this dude limping around, they got jokes about that dude limping around.
Yeah.
And so I think this is going to be the Torrey Smith show starring Torrey Smith.
I agree.
And I think he's going to be going long, often, on short fields, because I think that defense is going to show up when it's game time and be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because the stuff's happening in the preseason. I don't believe that's real.
Right.
I think they'll put the clamps down. Ray Rice is what Ray Rice is, and it's on.
Yeah. We obviously all agree. We have them all
Sorry,
there.
Corey.
Right. And Baltimore.
But I swear we didn't talk about this beforehand.
And we got that in a different way.
So Saints against it's Casey. Sorry. Saints
Casey,
against
yeah.
he's the one. Yeah.
That's
Saints against Baltimore. The game's in the Dome. Do we really need to pick this? I mean, it's going to be a Zoom.
I think Baltimore shows up.
There's no doubt.
Yeah,
This is one of the few teams I think that can.
And
Strength
that's
against
scary.
strength,
That's a scary
Right.
matchup.
Yeah. I think it'd be a great game.
Because Torrey Smith, if he does,
Ed Reed
have the
comes
season,
home for his last chance at the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Because he wasn't on that first team, that first Ravens Super
Red
Bowl
Lewis
team.
can stab somebody else,
Right, no.
in New Orleans, of
Right.
all
Orleans,
places,
yeah,
that wouldn't be shocking.
Right.
Yeah.
He'd be like, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah,
It's not me. That's a hell of a game. That's a hell of a game.
You don't have to pick them.
No, that's a hell of a game. I wrote Saints over Ravens. Period. Hopefully.
Right.
Because if the Ravens have a season that I'm thinking they could be on the way to having, they're gonna be hell to beat.
Yeah, they could end up getting the top seed. And that's more because I don't think the AFC North is as great as obviously Cleveland's a dumpster fire. Since he's an injury away from being a dumpster fire,
and they've been
Pittsburgh's
having injuries all
same
season.
thing, right?
And it's been all in the places that screws your team.
Quarterback. Why is Dalton playing in that game?
And them getting injuries on the line too, which just means Dalton's gonna be curled up on the ground even more.
Right.
They're not deep at receiver at all.
No.
So you need one more AJ Green coming down wrong, something or other.
Yeah.
And this is the second year.
And I drafted him in one of the drafts I did for people, so that doesn't bode well for him.
Like it's all pretty scary. And we keep whispering that it's time for Pittsburgh to fall off a cliff, and I think everything is lined up for them to fall off a cliff.
Roethlisberger's entering the season hurt, like legitimately hurt.
Yeah, starting healthy and
right, exactly.
Your star
the
receiver,
line.
Yeah, the line's a joke. Who is their running back?
They don't.
They got like 3 or 4 guys that are kind of sort of good, but they're all like
the same guy.
Give me 8 carries and I'll be good, but don't give me 15 and expect me to be good.
Right. No, this is the year if it's going to happen.
Don't let me cuss anymore about holdout receivers, holdout running backs, popping the head of the door. Hey, y'all.
Yeah.
It's August 23rd. I'm ready to play, y'all.
I see hamstring injuries the whole year.
Not even. It joins Drew. Like
hamstring. Oh, because he didn't shave and cut his hair, that means he's supposed to be on, please. I'm not falling for that. And I hope Malarkey doesn't fall for that either. But I think that team's going to be a joke anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So do you have...
I don't think the fans let the Saints lose that game.
Yeah,
I've been in that stadium when the team's flying high. It's loud.
Yeah.
They'll definitely get up for the Super Bowl.
I swear, y'all, I don't have guns to their heads while we do this.
Yeah,
this is their picks.
I think the Ravens will make it a game. Something, like high 20s.
Yeah.
Maybe like a 28-24 or something like that. But Saints to win it all.
I'll certainly take it. And it's in the dome, and I said last week that no team of the city that hosts has made the playoffs in 11 seasons. So this would be more than historical for so many reasons. For a city that deserves it, for an organization that has a black eye, and before that was the number 1 ranked organization by ESPN as far as how it's run, the way it's run, the fan base, everything. And there's a lot to prove, and they've got the guys on this team that, with a chip on their shoulder, they respond only in one fashion. So I totally agree. And that goes on to number 6. Here's our MVPs, Offensive Player of the Years, and Defensive Player of the Years. My MVP, they do what I think they're going to do. If we all think they're going to, it's got to be Breeze. If that's how it plays out. So it's true. It's true for me here. It's got to be if they do what I think they'll do.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks win it so often. It's usually like either quarterbacks or running backs.
Right.
And we've seen...
They've won 5 of the last 8 quarterbacks, I think.
And we've seen
them
that's
rookie
evolve
of the year,
to the point where, there are not a lot of single running back teams.
Right. It's exactly right.
So it's got to be a quarterback. And, if I got Saints win the Super Bowl...
But you do have Green Bay with a better regular season record, which may... But if we win 12 games under these circumstances... I think that trumps one more win for Green Bay, you know. So I
got Breeze.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay.
Shit.
Offensive Player of the Year, Matt Stafford, for the same reason I have Drew. If Detroit does what I think they're going to do, that means it's another 5,000-yard season for him. 40 touchdowns, 20 to Calvin, possibly. That's Matt Stafford, and I took him in both fantasy leagues that I drafted in. So.
Yeah. I'll piss off Art here and say Matt Ryan.
Somebody wrote a full article on why he was going to be the top fantasy player.
Yep.
And none of it made sense, but whatever. That's awesome. Just because when your explanation is a super awesome offense.
Yeah.
Super fun, super awesome. No, pastime. All right, Matt Ryan for you too, or?
I got to roll with Stafford because I believe he's going to be upright, and if he's upright, that team's going to be throwing.
Yep.
I think that defense is going to put them in a couple more shootouts than people expect them to be in because their defense has old Sue and these big name linemen, but secondary wise, when they don't get intense pressure on quarterbacks, it's lunchtime for those corners. So, are they the ones that signed Drayton Florence too? I think they signed Florence.
I don't know.
Because Florence was out there.
Oh, I think so. In the secondary? Or what
Yeah. Secondary. I think they picked him up. I don't think that matters because if he was out there, it's probably a reason.
Right. Exactly.
So,
right.
But that lets you know they need to be trying to fix stuff. Though.
Something.
So,
yeah,
but
they're dressing.
And maybe that'll do something to help them out. But no, I think they're going to be chunking it. And, I got a couple I just think that offense is going to. People talk about Super Bowl awesome offense and they're not bringing up Detroit. Come on, people.
It's because there's no running game, and that's not fair. But
jeez.
But that's why. So yeah, I agree. Like I said, I took him in the first round of both drafts I picked, and I see much of the same from him that he gave us last season. And the defensive player of the year, I really want to pick DeMarcus Ware here, but he's already battling hamstring injuries.
Oops.
He's never won this award, which I was surprised to see. He's had a double-digit sack season in every year except his rookie year. He doesn't get any other stats. He's never had more than 85 tackles. He's only forced an average of about 4 fumbles a year, which I don't think that's horrible. But and he seems to always be causing fumbles. But I can't pick him. I don't have them making the playoffs. His teammate Brandon Carr is also a dark horse here, but for the same reason I can't take him. Patrick Willis needs to win this award at some point, but I'm sticking to my full-on bias, and I'm taking Ed Reed.
Damn it!
Especially with Terrell Suggs out for at least half the season. Woodson won this award at 33, the age of 33, which is what Reed will be when we start this season. It just seems like folks are forgetting about the best safety in football, how good he is, how great he is, which is right around the time he reminds us with his greatness. He's my defensive player of the year, and obviously he's ours too. Because we love us some men.
Yeah, I'll go a little different direction here. I'll go with Mario Williams over in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, for what we have him doing, he'll have to be big there.
Yeah,
20 sacks, and that'll do it.
High teens, at least. Yeah, I can see him pulling that off.
All right, this is a big secret.
Come on, you know what I'm saying. If Baltimore gets to the Super Bowl, you're gonna have
without Suggs too.
Yeah, you're gonna have Ray Lewis talking loud, saying bold statements, and talking about what men do and what men don't do, and when you step on the field, and it's gonna be great for commercials, and it's gonna be great for when the game's about to come on, open the sequences. But this is gonna be Ed Reed's year. This is it for him. Yep. He's been cracking them jokes about quitting every year the last couple
He's
years.
Healthy finally going into a season.
He has to know that clock, that sand is coming out. It's almost over. And so they only going to get, and if the offense is going to show up, which this year we're saying they are, the defense is going to feel even more compelled to make a lot of, and it's going to be turnover type situations.
Right.
And when you're talking about turnovers, you're talking about Ed Reed.
Right, and the offense can build those leads. They can take more chances, especially him in safety position. Double-digit interceptions. He'll get the 90-plus tackles. Yeah, if it's going to happen, this is it. He's won it before, of course, but for him to do it here would be really cool. And then, obviously, for them to play the Saints in the Super Bowl in New Orleans would be very cool for not only us, for him. He's a native of the city. So, on to number 7 of the top 11, our offensive and defensive rookies of the year. If you listened last week, I obviously want to take Russell Wilson here, but I don't have him in the playoffs right now. I think in 8 weeks I may, but it's got to be Andrew Luck. He's got to be pretty bad here to not get it. I think he's got the best chance of the top two picks to play all 16 games, and I think it's Luck. He'll put up the respectable numbers. They'll win more games than people think they're going to win. He'll be a part of that, the reasoning to that. So I've got Andrew Luck as my offensive. It's obvious, but usually these awards do tend to be given to obvious players. So
it's hard not to go with Luck, but I'll still go with Russell Wilson. Aha!
Nice, good. I'm glad. That's what I hope for.
Yes.
I think the expectations are going to be a little higher for Luck, and so And Wilson's just a dynamic.
He looked
player.
good again the other night too.
Yeah. So I see him doing more.
Good. I want that. I might buy his jersey. I'm serious.
Yeah,
If he played for anyone else.
Yeah, think
Not a
about
fan of Seattle, man.
Well, no, Pete Carroll.
Oh yeah, that guy.
think about the season that Cam Newton just got through having and how bad Carolina really was.
Right.
This Seattle team is better than that Carolina team last year.
Oh, especially on defense, which is what will help a young quarterback.
And think about what division they're playing.
I know that helps too.
And even if something goes wrong and they end up not making the playoffs, which is what we're all basically saying is going to happen, I think that kid is going to have at least one. I think he's going to have a nice run this year, provided they leave him out there. And I don't think they started him to yank him. So
No.
I think he's going to look good, and I think by the time he gets to the end of the year, he's going to have the type of numbers. Imagine if Cam would have had that type of year and Cam Newton. I mean, let's be honest. When he was coming into the league, this wasn't a likable guy.
Right.
This was a guy that had issues hanging on him. Russell Wilson doesn't have that.
No.
And then he's
If anything, you're
and
rooting.
he's
people
a
rooting for him.
feel-good story, good kid, short. Oh, you can't play because you're short. They're going to show that. They're going to show Gruden arguing for him at the draft. When Mel Kiper was like, I don't know about this guy because he's short, and Gruden was basically like,
All you have to say is Drew Brees, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
argument is gone.
Yeah.
I know there's only one of them, but
Yeah.
Foot maybe.
Yeah.
right. No, he's fucked.
Yeah. Gruden was telling Mel Kiper, like, they're going to play that clip, and if you haven't heard it yet, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
pretty much like, to hell with you. You're
Right.
out of your mind. With all due respect, I know you got your list. I know you're Mel Kiper.
Right.
But this kid can play. And sometimes you got to put a kid out there
And
that
he's
can
brilliant.
play. Like, this kid should be getting drafted, like, right now. Like, I don't care who the team is. Him still being there is a mistake. He needs to get drafted.
And that's John Gruden.
Yeah.
He knows quarterbacks.
Music came on.
And it's
the
not.
Seattle
He sucks
Seahawks
everybody's
select.
cock on Monday Night Football, but when he does his other stuff,
Yeah, he roasted folks.
Right,
Yeah,
he
like-
really is.
Well,
So
he went all in on that, and they're going to be playing that clip. It's going to be week 5 or 6, and they're going to have a record that you don't think they should have, and it's going to be all about Russell Wilson.
yeah, I agree. And then that's who you took. So
Yep.
the defense, I've got to go with Mark Barron here from Tampa. Their front seven is laughable. He's already scored this preseason. So because the front seven's so bad, he's going to amass over 100 tackles in the safety position. He played under Saban in college, so it's NFL defense. He's got that down. The kid in Carolina, I like Luke Kuechly or whatever, just because
Oh yeah.
their front four is bad, and he'll roll up tackles him and Beeson. But I think it's Beeson, right? Yeah. And I won't list anymore just in case y'all pick these guys. But I got Barron. He's got the best opportunities to make the biggest impact.
Yeah, I want to take Claiborne.
And I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities because nobody's going to throw the car
Right.
to his side, you know?
Yeah. But I think I'm gonna go with a homer and go with Dante Hightower.
Yeah, it's a linebacker pick.
Just because I want him to do well. So.
You might need him to.
Right. Yeah.
Wait, so it's him and Spikes in the middle? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or him or is Mayo on the
Mayo might be in
Yeah.
the middle.
Yeah.
Spikes is on the other end.
Anyway, Hightower.
Yeah. No, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Because they'll get the stats. They'll get the tackles, you know? A couple picks.
I'm going to just go general purpose bias, and I'm going to assume that even though Dallas ends up being the dumpster fire that they're shaping up to be, I think Claiborne gets on the field and he plays his ass off. And I think he does all he can to make that defense a little bit, secondary-wise, a little bit more respectable and a little bit less bombs away.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to matter because I think the offense is going to suck this time. And I think this is as much as I like
win on
Tony,
Wednesday night.
I don't know they'll win Wednesday night.
But I don't think.
but-
I don't know that those teams ever lose those games. Like the Super Bowl winners rarely lose those games. But
Well, if anything, they'll win that game and lose like 9 in a row.
Exactly.
But because I'll just roll with that though, because I think he's under a lot of pressure. Obviously, with him being a Cowboy, if he plays well, he'll have a lot of attention, and sometimes these awards are attention awards.
No, certainly that's very true. He'll need to get the picks, but he's a fairly above average open field tackler as well, and he might play in the return game a little bit like he did at LSU, which also is huge. Just what Peterson got a year ago was mainly because he returned 6 punts for touchdowns or whatever it ended up being. So number 8 is our comeback player of the year and coach of the year. I don't think we'd even need to address comeback player of the year. I'll give you B and C, but it's Peyton Manning. It's got to be. If we all have them winning the division, so that means he came back and played 16 games, and he'll win this award. So mine's Peyton Manning. It's the obvious one. I have some other ones, but again, I'll hold those off for you guys if you have some other name.
Yeah, I agree. Peyton will probably win it, but maybe an honorable mention to Nnamdi Asomugha, who supposedly is actually going to be put on the outside this year.
Right, but don't you have to be hurt to come back?
Not necessarily. You can suck.
Okay. Well, yeah, they finally they gave the keys to the defense to an offensive line coach, so he screws up the best corner in football by making him do something he can't do.
Making him play in the middle.
Exactly. He's more on the edge, more hands-on. He's a physical guy. Yeah, no zone. It's man-to-man.
Right. So supposedly he's going to be playing more on the edge, man-to-man this year. So
Okay. No, that's his strong suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to believe, for some reason, that Kevin Smith is going to play in like 11 games, which is 7 more. He may actually end up playing.
Right.
And I think if he plays, he's going to play his ass off. He's going to be in the middle of this offense that's going to be scoring 1 million points. And his name will come up as comeback player, because you're talking about out of the league on the couch. He shows back up.
He should have won. He probably got votes last year.
Yeah, but he only played probably in 3 games or something. Yeah. And he was hurt for half of those.
Right.
And that playoff game was just sad to watch him basically on one leg coming out there trying to run, getting 8 yards and basically falling down because his ankle is just shot. And he's still out there trying to play. Just like, please don't get rid of me, because this is how bad I want to play. Like, please just keep me.
Yeah. And, well, I have a question for you, Stefan. So, your reasoning is you can't win Defensive Player of the Year and Comeback Player of the Year, you think? Because why would Mario win this if he's your Defensive Player of the Year? I don't. Maybe they won't give it. You know.
Right. Yeah.
It's just quick. That's another guy out there who could win it. And obviously the 2 guys in Kansas City, Jamal Charles and Eric Berry, both coming back. Yeah. Even Milwaukee. Beeson was out in Carolina for most of the year. And the one I think we wouldn't mind seeing would be Randy Moss, if he's relevant at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you can have different people. You know,
they try to spread the award
logic
out.
Says, if he's the defensive player of the year,
but they try to give 8 different awards.
Yeah, because like if you're MVP, well, you must be either offensive or defensive player of the year, right?
Exactly. Right. No, I'm just messing with it. I completely agree. But I just wanted to point to that. It was just a funny point there.
Indeed.
So now on the Coach of the Year, Drew Brees. Can we give it to him? Joe Vitt. He has to miss 6 games. Can't give it to him. So it really, I don't know how they would handle that situation. It'd be a team award maybe, but I have Tennessee winning the division, so maybe Mike Munchak, but I've got Buffalo making the playoffs for the first time since 1999, so I'll say Chan Gailey gets the award over Munchak.
Okay, I guess I got a similar style situation, and let me preface this by saying, my pick for Coach of the Year, I don't have to necessarily think he's a very good coach in order for him to win this award.
Pete Carroll?
No. But for bringing Cincy into the second round of the playoffs, I got Marvin Lewis.
He won it recently, didn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't remember who won it.
Or was that
year.
Lovie Smith? Actually, I got them both going to the second round of the playoffs. So. But yeah.
Marvin won it when they won the division, I think. They went like 12-4.
Yeah.
So he's won it before.
Yeah. So it can happen.
Right. It's very possible.
Now clarify for me, when do they vote for this? This gets voted for at the end of the season, during the playoffs?
It's usually they give it to a team that like Buffalo or Tennessee would be. It's never I don't think McCarthy didn't win it last. McCarthy might have won it last year because they went 15-1. But it's never. Yeah, they vote based just on regular season. You're not supposed to factor in.
But the vote actually happens.
It happens later. It does. Okay. Yeah. They give these out like the week of the Super Bowl, I think.
That's why I was thinking they pick it beforehand.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'm gonna go with Andy Reid. Something that really bothered me recently is
the owner coming out.
That bullshit with the owner, man. I got a big problem with that. Yeah. Because look, man. The guy's kid died like a few weeks ago basically on their watch at their facility. Whatever the deal was, that kid, that's a different story. But you don't fuck a guy over that's been in your organization for that long and come out and say, well, we gotta be better. Right. We gotta be better. I'm a can that dude.
Right. If we do what we did last year, he's fired.
And it's like, what? Now it's one thing to pull him in a room and say, now Andy, I know what's going on, everything. Man, we gotta do better this year.
it's one thing to say it there, but to come out with it, sometimes those owners just need to shut the hell up, man. And it's one thing when you got Jerry Jones out there cracking jokes and he putting pressure on players that he overdrafted and all that. That's a different type of story. But this Andy Reid thing, just from a man-to-man thing, I got a big problem with that. And I think he's going to have to overcome some things. They got talent, but they got injury issues.
If they win a division and after this tragedy, that's a strong chance.
And I think it's going to be a raggedy type of division like we've described it, but they're going to have to fight off the Giants to get in. And we all have the Giants not getting in, so the Eagles are going to have to beat them at least once, I'm assuming. So,
right. I've got every team beating every team once, even the Redskins. That's just how the division rolls.
Yeah, it's just a weird division. So I'm rolling with Andy Reid. I'm actually hoping that it's Andy Reid. I think for all the criticisms I have about his third down play calling and all that, I'm stepping back away from that and just saying, look, this guy is giving a lot of his life to football and for this franchise. This is one of the most thankless fucking franchises and fans out there.
Right. But they love that fat bastard.
And they deserve to love him because he's been there. And so he needs to get more.
Well, Colin Cowherd pissed me off this week, speaking of Andy Reid, and said that Belichick started this wave of short passing as your running game. Andy Reid started that with Westbrook a decade ago. So come on. He's such a freaking homer with the Patriots and whatever. Sorry. Your coach of the year. You did yours was Marvin Lewis. That's right. Another forgettable pick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, on to number 9.
You don't got to take that.
On to number 9. The first bold prediction, I have mine, and it's Miami Dolphins head coach Joe Philbin being fired by the middle of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he got fired at the bye week, which they have in week 7. If you've seen Hard Knocks at all, and I've only seen a little, this guy's clearly in over his head.
It's his first season, right?
It is. He was offensive coordinator in Green Bay, I believe.
Okay.
They went 0-4 in the preseason. I know it's just the preseason, but they weren't competitive. They were outscored 96-43 or 43-96, I guess is the best way to put it. And they opened the season against Oakland, the Jets, who hadn't scored before this week in preseason, Arizona, and St. Louis. And those are some of their first 6 games. If they lose to those teams, he's gone. I mean, that would only add to that. I know it's unprecedented, especially because he's a first-year coach. They're rolling with a rookie. They traded the best 2 players on each side of the ball. But all these decisions he played a part in. And on top of it all, the owner is apparently Steve Ross, who's a fairly new owner. He's optimistic about the team, so he has expectations. So that's my bold prediction. Philbin gone by midseason. So that's how we're going to do that first one. Now for the number 10, Art, since in the regular season the state of the art segment will become our fantasy segment, I would like to ask you if you have any fantasy bold predictions.
I got some stuff that's like broken record, like it's gonna be an eye roll to hear me say it.
Right. Ray Rice will be the top running back.
I don't think that's bold.
That's not bold.
Percy Harvin is going to be a top 5 wide receiver.
He was the top 10 last year, which you can't scream enough because people still don't pick him.
87 catches, 976 yards,
and it's not
8
even his rushing
touchdowns,
yards.
300 rushing yards.
Yeah.
In the second half of the season, now obviously Peterson missed 4 of those games. And
so his role increased, right?
His role increased, but even when Peterson was still there, from the time they started rolling with Ponder, no wide receivers got more touches than Percy Harvin.
Right.
Does anybody have any of that Florida film?
He was the best player on the team.
Like, every time you turn around, they would find a new jackass way to get him the ball, and he was ridiculous.
I've always said he should have won the Heisman over T-Ball. He was the best player on that team. By far.
And this team is not good. This team does not have a lot of talent. This team is going to be getting beat, and they're going to have to be coming up with stuff. And fantasy football is it's a stat game. Doesn't matter when you get them, just as long as you get them. Yeah. And if he's upright, he's going to be having stats because he's too many ways for him to get it. 300 yards rushing. I mean, from a receiver,
they run reverses a lot too.
He's basically
he does well with it.
He's basically Sproles lined up as but you get to start him as a wide receiver.
Exactly.
Like he's getting used to that degree.
Right.
So I think that's I blew in the face.
And Ponder can only get better.
He's gonna be that guy that everybody's gonna be like, shit. I drafted Andre Johnson. I should have drafted Percy Hart. I screwed myself.
What? You could also say, shit, I drafted Andre Johnson. I should have drafted Nate Washington. Or
8 rounds later.
Right.
I think Pierre Garçon was a top 10 receiver. Washington did a lot of passing last year. And they're going to do the same. It's Kyle and his dad, and that's what they want to do. They're going to be behind in some of these games. And RG3 is a to the outside receiver using type
he's been
guy.
targeted a lot in the preseason.
And he's going to use Garçon the same way. They brought in Garçon to be that guy, and RG3 works perfect for that. And they're going to connect a lot.
Has Cooley been picked up yet?
I think Cooley's still at the house.
Yeah.
I think he probably got released because he's hurt.
I think he's perfect for the Saints just because he fits in that Dave Thomas role, and Dave could drop at any moment. He's the same guy. I mean, but sorry, while I was on my mind, I wanted to ask.
Gotcha. I mean, a couple more things, and I'll stop.
No, it's fine.
I think Hernandez finishes in front of Gronk. I won't keep looking at me like that. Whatever.
No, we're not looking at all.
Pierre Thomas should be getting drafted. Like,
this is when he drops his Gore reference.
I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not gonna do that to Frank. I'm really
No, he did the same as Frank Gore last year.
Depending on your scoring, Frank Gore and Pierre Thomas had similar.
But Gore played all 16 too.
Yeah, and the thing you say a lot is, and Pierre didn't.
Right,
so it makes
exactly,
it worse.
Exactly.
So that says a lot of things to me. That says how much is Gore really going to get used this year, and are people drafting names and hoping for stats, or drafting stats and hoping for stats to repeat themselves? And to me, that second option sounds a whole lot better than the first option. Because, hey, look at me, y'all. I got Frank Gore on my team. Get you 0 points.
Right. It's a name.
It's a name.
I love the name. I love the guy.
You know how much I love it.
Right.
But these are what the numbers tell you. And fantasy football is a numbers game. So, Pierre Thomas should be getting drafted. People are drafting D'Angelo Williams.
Well, now he's the starter.
Now he's a starter.
Well, he always was, but now he's...
Now it makes sense because Jonathan Stewart is hurt.
Right.
Yeah.
But a week, 3-4 weeks ago, they were both splitting carries, and Stewart was looking on a new contract, and it was like, man, what are y'all doing? Like, quit doing that. Quit drafting those people.
Right.
And they're talking about my second running back is D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah.
What you think about my team? Is this a 14-team league? I hate your team automatically. Get away from me.
I got away with it last year, but I had like 5. I had 5 of those guys, and I could start 4 receivers, and my receivers were strong. So.
Yes. And you in like a 12-team league.
Right, exactly.
People showing up in 10-team leagues talking about, do I start D'Angelo or Jonathan? And I say, you put your team in the trash.
That's a situation I don't want to deal with. But that's a situation that's becoming the situation in every city, in every team. So it makes it hard. This is harder and harder. It's become fantasy's become draft quarterbacks and receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's the same roll of the dice. Well, the quarterbacks, you don't roll the dice. The receivers and running backs now, it's like number 1, number 2, number 3 receivers, number 1, number 2, number 3 running backs, but they might get the same amount of carries, they might get the same amount of touches. It makes it harder, but now you don't see 17 of the top 20 picks being running backs anymore. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, receivers have always had to share the load. Go back a long way. Teams have always had 2 top receivers.
Right.
So,
and it's just even more. The 2 top now are 1,100 yards.
Because it's a bigger
touchdowns,
load.
85 catches.
There's more passing. I mean,
right.
Namath, threw for 4,000 yards in 1969 or something like
right,
that.
Exactly.
And it was like, wow, that's a shitload of yards. Now 4,000, that'll be like...
Man, that fool only had 4,000 yards.
Right.
4,000, he sucks.
I'll never draft that guy.
So anymore, you guys, is that
no,
we'll stick with those. But that'll stick with those. Okay, and that'll be how we do the state of the art in the format for the regular season. We're just going to do one podcast, and it'll be fantasy questions, 5 to 7 or whatever each week, to help you guys with your lineups, and send them in if you've got them. If not, I'll create them, which will be what happens. And then finally, number 11, my bold prediction here is that Stephon won't answer any of these trivia questions right. And that's also in the regular season, all Stump Stephon questions will be NFL questions. Some of the current variety and some digging back like most of these.
Better bone up.
Right. So we're
Emphasis on bone.
three on this introduction of the segment, and the Jets did score a touchdown finally in the preseason this past week. But before that, they had failed to score at all in the first 3 preseason games at all in the end zone. So my question is, has this ever happened before? And if so, when?
I'm guessing it has happened.
Since
before.
I'm saying if
Since
so,
you're
when?
asking it, yeah,
Right.
it'd be a pretty boring question if it hadn't happened before.
And then by who?
By who? I'll go with the Colts.
That's correct.
Incorrect?
Nah. You got a year? Pull a year out of the ass.
How about 98?
1977, and it was the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
I don't know what they did in the third. They might have only had 3 preseason games back then.
Yeah, it's probably fewer than today.
Right.
For sure, yeah.
So the next one is, what team and when has the record for the fewest points given up in a season?
A season?
Yeah,
Or-
give it up in a season.
regular
season.
Oh, okay.
Fewest points given up.
Jeez, that's probably going back a ways too.
Probably gotta go.
Yeah. Is it the Miami Dolphins?
It is not.
Ah.
It is those same Falcons.
Oh, really?
Who they failed to score in the preseason, but they also were the team that gave up the least amount of points. It was 14 games. 1977
Same
Falcons.
season.
Yeah,
Oh,
same
okay.
season, same team. 129 points in 14 games. The Ravens in 2000 gave up 165 in 16 games.
Okay.
But that's a difference of 36 points in 2 games. So
Yeah.
based on that
Points per
average,
game,
right?
Yeah, Atlanta's
So
still the better one.
Still would have been better.
Okay.
So those same Falcons. This one you'll get. Which team and when has the record for the most points scored in a season?
Okay. Most points in a season. Wait a minute. I gotta compare eras here. Did the Patriots
They did.
set that record
They did.
in 07?
07, that is
Okay.
correct. And the fewest points in a season was 37.
Oh, by Tampa Bay?
No, it's 1934.
Oh, right.
Cincinnati Reds, St. Louis Gunners, and it was 11 games.
Oh, I thought it was the Chicago Maroons.
Right. But they changed cities in the middle of the season or whatever. They took over another.
Because they couldn't score. They're
Right,
like, "Get out of
exactly.
here."
They gave up 304 in those 11
Oh
games.
my God.
37 to 304. So, and I think they won a game or two somehow.
Nice.
So that's it for that, and that'll be it for this week's top 11. I'll get more into the new format in the regular part of the podcast, podcast number 17. So that's it for this. That concludes it. We look forward to doing talking all sports all the time, really, and for this podcast going forward until obviously football season's over. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, and go to the regular podcast, which will be named Jonesin on the Whim podcast number 17.
Listen.
And send your questions, fantasy questions, football, anything. Y'all already do it and text me. Just put it on the page so people realize that y'all do actually turn to us for this advice. Thanks in advance.
'Cause you're gonna.